Welcome to the mystical world of Bledsoe, where the boundaries of space and time are indistinguishable from normal reality.
Yo, none of this was planned. None of this was planned.
We're gonna go on a journey into the depths of cosmic horror.
To the depths of heck.
Bro, I love horror. Heck. Man,
Heck.
I love horror films. So,
And I don't.
ever since I was little, I've always had a fascination with...
You guys like my flashlight, by the way? It's a pretty,
Yeah, it's really cool, Nick.
yeah, it's
Where'd you
pretty-
get it?
It's pretty tactical. I got this from the Tactical Man store, I think. You know?
Are you sure?
Tacticalman.com. That's where I got this one.
Are you sure it wasn't
Yeah,
manly
dude,
tactical?
it's a Surefire EMT21 USB hot surface CE A31815.
One
It's
of those
mine.
is right.
So literally right before we
Cool.
started recording, Alex is so possessive about his tech. He said, if you say that's your flashlight,
We're going to have a problem.
yeah, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, so ever
It's not
since
just the flashlight.
you motherfuckers got in the way of
Do
my
you guys
scary
are we
intro.
past 30 seconds? Can you say that?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
All
we're
right,
good. We're good. So ever since I was a little kid, I've had a fascination with the macabre, and I suspect it's because when I was about 3 years old, The Nightmare Before Christmas came out. Ooh, that movie is not even scary, but
I wouldn't watch it as a kid.
I watched it hundreds of times obsessively.
Right. I didn't watch that movie until after Kingdom Hearts 2 came out because
Oh my god,
Yeah.
dude! You would have been
So I
like
was-
10 or 11.
probably 12 or 13.
Yeah, I was watching that as a toddler.
Yeah.
And-
I've always been like afraid of scary movies. I know Nightmare Before Christmas is not a scary movie, but as a little
But
kid,
it's like
I was,
scary-ish.
I was
yeah.
like,
And then, like, as I got, my brother was always into horror. Dude, shout out Chris Jr.
shout out Chris Jr.
This
People
is-
are loving your episode, man.
Oh, yeah, they're loving it.
It was a beautiful episode.
It was. And when Chris was little, I've seen home videos. Like, this is real. Before I was born, the Christmas before I was born, he was about 3, 4 years old. I think he was about 3. And he literally got, like, Freddy Krueger toys for Christmas.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like so I grew up around scary shit because Chris Jr. liked scary shit. And like I was always exposed to like Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, all that stuff from a very young age. It's just a thing about the Bledsoe family. Like my 2 aunts, their kids, all 4 of them, except for maybe one of those kids. And then me and my brother Junior, we've just always been into scary shit. And like
Yeah, members of your family have literally lived in a haunted house.
Yes,
So-
that's a true story.
Like there's
Yeah, I
horror-
can actually tell that story. That's perfect for this episode. Yeah,
I think that'd be awesome.
my dad's not the only one who's had paranormal experiences in our family.
For sure not.
Actually, multiple members have lived in a haunted house. And anyway, I say all that to say that I grew up with a fascination for the macabre and like horror. But like, there's just this funny dichotomy because then my family has these experiences with these light beings and like, it's complicated.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. I just like horror films. I don't know it, and like especially growing up in a paranormal reality where I'm seeing beings and entities and shit. My mind is always trying to like analyze the mystical, the magical, the occult, the things that are not supposed to be normal or
Yeah.
part of reality. And like you find a lot of occult stuff in horror films. We're gonna go
For
into
sure.
that.
I've always felt drawn to that aspect of horror, but it's the scary stuff that I mean,
Yeah.
since I was little, I've been like very yellow bellied. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like being scared. I don't like feeling scared. I don't like scary movies.
But see,
like my brother and sister used to be like obsessed with horror movies. They loved like, they were at the time when we were all growing up and they were teenagers. Saw was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So they were
yeah.
obsessed with Saw.
I've
and
seen
then-
every one of them except one.
And then obviously, like, Michael Myers. I love Halloween. I love the
Yeah,
Halloween
yeah.
movies. As an adult, I finally can stomach some of the more tame ones.
Today
And
we're
we'll-
going to go
we'll
into
get
how
into some of them.
Halloween is inspired by Lovecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Halloween,
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
always loved horror, always loved that kind of stuff. And like literally my childhood was scary. Like
Yeah,
constantly
yeah.
seeing entities and spooky shit. So anyway, I say all that to say that as an adult, I have come to like obsessively watch horror films. I like to always watch the greatest horror films and have a lot of respect for horror authors. I've never read a Stephen King book. It's too boring. It's too long. I like the movies. But
At least got to read The Shining, bro.
is it long?
No,
Because I know it is 1,000 pages.
that's most of Stephen King's books are fairly moderate. Like they're
Really?
yeah.
I would read The Shining.
It is just stupid long. I own a copy of it. Never read a page of it.
I love the movies, dude. I love that. So anyway, so where I've landed at now is paying homage and respect to the GOAT of American horror, the king, H.P. Lovecraft. And like we're gonna go into the esoteric, inspiration behind H.P. Lovecraft. So H.P., I think his name was Howard. Can you look up his name? He's just known as H.P. So Howard Peterson Lovecraftian.
Peterson.
He was born in the early 1900s.
Howard Phillips.
Howard Phillips. So, just a little brief history lesson. He was born, I believe, 10 years after Edgar Allan Poe died. I think.
Okay.
I want to say he was born in like 1890, 1891, something like that. Can you look that up?
1890, August 20th. So
perfect. Oh, he's a Leo.
Right between us.
He's a Leo.
He's a Leo.
Like me. So, when he came into the scene, he changed horror forever. He's the first guy, to my knowledge, who created a mythos, like a universal canon between stories. And J.R.R. Tolkien was very soon after that. He did it with, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that. Mm-hmm. And Lovecraft is an incredibly complex story because, like, when he was a child, his I believe it was his father he died when HP was only like 6, I believe. And like his mother,
That's
I believe.
traumatic.
Yeah, and it gets worse. I want to say it was either his mother or father was committed to an insane asylum.
Both.
Both.
What?
So
I'm reading the wiki right now.
Yeah, they were
Both.
both committed to insane asylums. He was tormented by nightmares in his childhood because his parents were like losing their sanity, and he grew up a nerdy kid who was incredibly interested in science, and at the same time being tormented by nightmares of like dark spiritual things because of the trauma he faced seeing his parents lose their sanity and die in an institution.
Just real quick, who that is also describes to a T?
Who?
Neville Longbottom.
Oh, that's sad.
Dude.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, they went crazy because they were hit by evil magic or whatever.
That's wild.
But so the cool thing about Lovecraft is he was actually, up until the day he died, he was a devoted atheist. That's the weirdest part.
Right, yeah.
He was a devoted atheist. Yet he was fascinated with the nihilistic cosmic reality. He was such a nihilist from like the trauma he went through as a child that he was literally fascinated with things that, beyond the veil should not exist. Like cosmic forces that, are evil and like don't have humanity's best interest at heart, and like essentially cosmic horror. And when he started writing his short stories, they started blowing up, and he didn't really, hit any sort of major fame until after he died, like many years later. He died dirt poor.
Yep.
He died dirt poor, and I think
many
Boston.
prolific artists do, because like the people of the time are just not ready for that, for their work.
Yeah.
People aren't ready for that when they're around. So that often happens with artists, especially those who think outside the box, which you're absolutely right. Like H.P. Lovecraft defined
American horror as it is today.
Horror in general, not just American horror. Dude, everything. Think about Bloodborne.
It's directly inspired by
Bloodborne is a Japanese game.
Video game, yeah.
That is literally top down. It's about lunar cosmic horror beings.
In your nightmares.
In your nightmares.
You're in a nightmare.
It is quite literally a Lovecraft game.
But so I was saying all that to just get his history out of the way, because I'm not going to talk on and on about who he was as a person.
Yeah.
And, it is worth mentioning, I feel like I should say this, H.P. Lovecraft rightfully gets a lot of flack.
Yeah.
Because he was racist.
Yeah.
And a lot of his stories were inspired by his deep fear of like people of different ethnicities, and like he hated, I guess, people that come from different places. He was terrified, but he had that inherent fear of like this, nihilistic whatever. I'm not justifying. I'm not excusing.
Of course not. No.
I'm just saying he was that way,
Yeah.
And despite the fact that he probably was not really a good person,
right.
I still feel like art is art, and I'm recognizing his art and what it did to our culture today. So
for sure. It's
worth mentioning.
It's no secret that throughout history, terrible people come up with prolific, amazing things.
And also, like, we do, I think it's also worth saying, again, not excusing racism is inherently evil and wrong in every scenario, but like, you know, the way I can read his stories and feel okay with it is like, dude, he was writing shit in like 1890, or not 1890, but like 1910. It was a different world, and like, I was not in that world, like, whatever, you know, it's history.
Right.
I like his works. I like his books.
Yeah.
They're good books.
We are separating the art from the artist.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
That's okay.
So anyway, he started writing. Can you look up what his first short story was?
It was Dagon, right?
I believe it was Dagon.
I think it was Dagon.
And Dagon is incredibly
so awesome.
Oh my God. Did you catch the movie?
No, I just read it.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the movie. So what Lovecraft was so genius for was he had dreams. He was plagued with nightmares as a child, but in his adult life, he started having dreams of these entities, which are now commonly known as like Lovecraftian, you know, deities, whatever.
He created a whole genre.
He created a genre. Yeah, he created an entire genre, and it all came from his dreams. He's the great dreamer. And it's crazy to me because my theory that I'm working on, and also like real genuine occult societies publicly praise Lovecraft as being a posthumous initiate into the mysteries. Like there are really people out there who practice high level magic and you know, ceremonial magic and all that shit that revere him as an honorary occultist because of the profound intricacies of his world, explanation of the cosmic forces, how they overlap with cutting edge science at the time, you know, in like 1920-ish. And dude, he's just a genius at the way he would string these overlapping things together. Like you have these, like for example, one movie we're going to talk about, From Beyond. It's all about this mad scientist, lots of mad scientist themes in his works.
There's a theme of madness.
Always. Yes, because he watched his parents go mad. Mm-hmm. So like usually,
I did not know that.
Yeah, he had a very terrible childhood.
A lot.
Yeah,
it explains everything.
Horrible. And dude, he died dirt poor. He's one of the most famous American authors of all time, and he died dirt poor in a little apartment. By the way, his wife left him because he was actually like an agoraphobe. He was extremely socially anxious, and that's like not justifying, but that's why he was racist too.
Exactly,
he hated outsiders. He liked to be trapped up in his little thing. Mm-hmm. He had in his apartment. He had pen pals, and he would collaborate with like all of his pen pals.
Like an extreme introvert.
Extreme. And he started publishing short stories to this little local publication. It was either New York or Boston, where he's from. And actually, his very first ever publications were parody poems of a local legendary poet at the time who was sappy, and Lovecraft thought he was cringe. So he was mocking his work with a pseudonym. He was writing poems mocking this guy.
Wow. Lovecraft was the OG.
He was a troll.
Lord.
Yeah. And he got picked up by the publication team who loved his poems, and that's when he started writing horror. And he came out with Dagon. And anyway, so like for example, like From Beyond, it's literally about a mad scientist named Dr. Praetorius who develops this device that has tuning forks on it. Archive 81. Yes, Archive 81. Yeah, we're going to go there. Later, we're going to talk more about like the impact that it has on horror today and how films have been inspired by it. But like From Beyond, it's literally about, watch the movie. It's a
When did that come out? Oh, you were about
the 80s.
80s.
Yeah.
Cool.
Legendary filmmaker Stuart Gordon. He's made several Lovecraft films. Like From Beyond, he made Dagon. I believe he made Reanimator. I could be wrong on that, but he's made a lot of Lovecraft movies. Died last year. Rest in peace. R.I.P. And anyway, so From Beyond is about this mad scientist who begins to disconnect from his five senses. Like he has this lust for pleasure and knowledge and experience beyond what this mortal body can offer. And he goes mad, like calculating.
Sounds like Crowley.
I'm going to go there.
Okay.
I'm going there, brother.
Let me not get ahead
Trust
of you.
me, it's going to get wild.
All right.
And he's like mad with this lust for experiencing pleasure. And like in the movie, again, it is horror, so it's very dark.
Sure.
It's rated R. And in the movie, this doctor or scientist is secretly like a sex fiend. Like he's so depraved in his lust for like what's beyond the veil of the ordinary pleasure of the five senses that like when they enter his room after he dies, spoiler, it's like a sex dungeon, like weird.
Whoa,
Yeah, and like he's
demented.
Yeah, it's a demented movie, but like it's Lovecraft.
Yeah,
It's
of
all
course,
demented.
of course.
It's demented.
There's a place for that.
There's
stuff
a place
too.
for it. There's a place for it.
everything.
Yeah,
there's a place.
and like he's demented,
That's
and
wild.
and he's like I think he's like a eunuch or something. So
whoa,
he's like physically castrated.
like by choice?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's
So
a
that
part.
was
It's a
done
part of the
to him.
movie. It was
Gotcha.
done to him. He had an accident or something, and he's just like this depraved madman who's seeking like extreme pleasure, and it drives him
It's
to.
to compensate. You know?
Yeah. And this insane frenzy drives him to create a device with these tuning forks and like this orb that transmits this electricity to tap into the other realities that we can't see with the five senses. And when he does and turns on the tuning forks, like it's crazy, his pineal gland begins to mutate. And like they explain in the story, like his pineal gland mutating beyond the normal size and function causes him to begin to sense into the other realities.
What?
And then like it gets so
Can
strong.
you like see his pineal?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's wild.
And then it becomes so powerful, and he starts to sense these like abominable cosmic horrors in another realm, and they begin to bleed into our reality. It's a wild movie.
Whoa,
But,
that's crazy.
And like that's the thing, like that's the genius of Lovecraft, writing stories in like 1910, where at the time he was obsessively reading through scientific journals that were, you know, publicly available, and what he was a master of was crafting the connection between the science and the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my life.
Yeah.
You know, and like living the beings, these entities that, and of course they're good. It's the diametric opposite
Right.
to Lovecraft's vision, but you know, there's beauty in comparing and contrasting things, and you know, we can gain meaning from that. And I've learned a lot of cool stuff from reading H.P. Lovecraft literature. And it's just amazing how he has this constant narrative of blending the cutting edge science with the paranormal, like Color Out of Space. Did you catch the movie?
Nope.
Dude, we should watch it like tomorrow
We
or
were
tonight.
We were supposed to watch it this week with Raven. Shout out Raven.
Shout out Raven. Love you, dude.
Love you. It didn't end up working out. We weren't able to watch it yet. I still really want to see
We
it.
should watch it tonight. I promise it's not scary.
Oh, no. We were going to watch it. I want to watch it. I would almost maybe feel bad watching it without Raven.
I got you.
But we'll see. Maybe he's already seen
Let's
it.
call him and see if he's
we'll
cool
call
with
him.
it. Yeah.
We'll call him.
Love you, dude.
Love you, dude.
Love
You're
you,
the
Raven.
best.
Yeah, he's one of our favorite people.
Oh, absolutely.
But in Color Out of Space,
yeah,
were you gonna say something?
Oh, well, I was actually. I'll save it for later. I was gonna ask about like the psychological nature
Of which one?
well, of HP's works in general. I thought, like, obviously it's all this cosmic horror stuff, but is it allegorical of like psychological trauma, or I thought there was some kind of thing.
It is. It's
Like
essentially
Cthulhu and these other Lovecraftian beasts represent like trauma and psychological kind of.
That's a good question, because that's where I was heading.
Okay.
And like cut in any time. There's
Okay.
no like, you know, I'm just riffing off what I know off the top of my head, but
Cool.
that's the overarching theme of the entire Lovecraft mythos, which by the way, it's like 100 stories, and they're all intimately connected.
Yeah.
And the overarching theme is Lovecraft believed we were in a nihilistic reality. And for those who don't know what nihilistic means, it's essentially like there's no hope for a positive future. Nothing fucking matters. Everything is stacked against
Nothing
you.
means
Literally
anything.
the opposite to what you know, we
it
believe
is.
and
It
talk
is the
about.
opposite.
And he believed in, you know, it's a cruel reality with these cosmic entities behind the veil who are just dying at a chance to be summoned to destroy your mind and drive you mad by entering your dreams and scream and causing you to like go insane with terror.
Yeah.
You know?
Which, imagine being a 6-year-old kid and seeing your parents go mad. Like,
Right.
your imagination, his imagination obviously went wild, and you know that moment scarred him and was in his brain forever. So,
And he's a real genius. And you
Yeah.
know, that's a thing. Like people with high level genius ability, like my father especially, they tend to have extremely vivid imaginations and, you know, craft these deeply imaginative scenarios based on like the things that they're perceiving in their reality. It's, you know, I would say it's easy to wager that Lovecraft probably was very psychic developed. Like the fact that he created this legendary cosmos or mythos from his dreams, to me, is mind-blowing.
yeah,
And
it is mind blowing.
like Color Out of Space, just an example of like the sexy flair of the genius of Lovecraft. And you can cut in any time here if you like have read it or watched it or whatever. But the whole premise of the book, which I'm currently reading right now, I'm almost done with it. It's a meteor that comes from space. What does that sound like?
And also, I was going to say the symbiote from Spidey.
And
Yeah.
The Thing.
The Thing.
It's a meteor that comes from space. The Thing by John Carpenter and It from Stephen King are 100% direct spiritual homages to the works of H.P. Lovecraft. And that's not a theory. The creators themselves have openly professed that Lovecraft is their idol.
Yeah.
Like Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, yeah.
John Carpenter, the master of horror, Stephen King, and many others off the top of my head who are like not as relevant or prolific. All are massive fans of H.P. Lovecraft.
Did John Carpenter make the OG Halloween?
Yes.
Thought so.
And we might as well get into that real quick. Remind me to come back to Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
But like, for example, John Carpenter, he's created two of the most successful horror franchises of all time, The Thing and Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are phenomenal. I highly recommend, if anybody's never seen Halloween, check out the original. It's the best one.
Oh, yeah.
And then the 2018 sequel, gold.
I watch
So
the first
good.
one every year.
So good. So good.
It's incredible.
Forget that.
That's the kind of horror that I love. Like,
Yeah.
The Shining is one of my favorite movies of all time. The Witch, which is
Love The
very,
Witch.
very much that style. Like, it's not about like, just jump scares and crazy shit. Like seeing, it's,
that's whack. That's cheap.
It's more realistic. It's like we're gonna build real suspense here.
For anybody wondering, my favorite horror film is Hereditary. Anyway, so like, for example, John Carpenter, he's the master of horror. He's actually nicknamed as the master of horror. The Thing, if you break it down, it's about this alien entity who's like ancient, well beyond what we can fathom or understand. It comes from a meteor. It lands deep out in like Antarctica, which, by the way, Into the Mountains of Madness. It's another extremely famous Lovecraft story that takes place like in a mountain in Antarctica or something like that. And the trend, as with any Lovecraft story, John Carpenter, paying homage to that, he created this entity who, if you watch the film, you never once see the entity's true form. It's constantly changing and evolving. Its true form is unknown to this world, this reality. You never see it, and it's this unfathomable terror that should not exist. It breaks the laws of reality. It's alien, yet it's this evil ancient horror that lands on Earth and has no purpose other than to just destroy. And like, that's pure Lovecraftian. And then Halloween, people are like, well, how is Michael Myers based on Lovecraft? Well, this is actually John Carpenter's words.
Oh, yeah.
He actually said this, that, first of all, Michael Myers is the name of the character. But if you know anything about like deep cut Halloween lore, if you read the credits into the movie, the Halloween films, they don't credit him as Michael Myers.
Right.
They credit him as the Shape.
Mm-hmm.
And the point behind Michael Myers, from John Carpenter's mouth, is that he is an inherently evil force of nature who exists entirely with no motive other than to
destroy,
kill and destroy. He's
Cause
not
terror.
human anymore. He's there's no semblance of humanity in this being.
He's possessed.
He's pure evil.
He's possessed.
He's beyond possessed. He's pure evil.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a slasher
archetypal.
film.
It's
It's they're not supernatural, but
Right.
it's the concept that Lovecraft is so influential in his works that it bleeds into slasher films.
Yeah, but I mean, it is interesting knowing that. It is interesting how like Michael Myers has superhuman strength.
Yep. He has no face. He wears a mask.
He has no
you
face.
never see his face.
You never see his face. And he just like doesn't die.
Nope.
Like they kill him and 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 kill him and
He's
kill
a
him.
force of nature.
And he keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Like,
and he never runs. He's just constant. He's just always like walking towards his victim. And like at the end of the day, he gets that victim. He's a force of terror and pure evil. And I think that's so cool. And like, you get into Color Out of Space. What's it about? It's about this meteor lands from space, and again, written in like 1915. So all that stuff came from this.
So wild.
And the meteor lands, and it has this luminescent glow. And the way that
it's like a magenta.
Yes, but it hasn't said that in the book yet.
Right.
I think it gets there over time. And like from what I'm reading the book now, and I've seen the movie twice. Fucking love that movie.
It's Nick Cage, right?
Yes. And
Love Nick
dude,
Cage.
it's so good.
Pig
and
was amazing.
in the book, it does a great job of describing like when the meteor lands, it's massive, but then within the span of a day or two, it begins to shrink and change form and let out like this luminescent glow at night. And like the scientists are breaking it apart. They're pouring all these chemicals on it. And he describes the like acids and stuff they had at the time. And like they're testing it. And it's puzzling the professors of over at Arkham, which remember Arkham? Batman has Arkham Asylum. Arkham comes from Lovecraft's stories.
Mm-hmm.
He, like I said, he created a mythos. So you regularly see, what's the college called? I'm blanking. Can you look up the name of the college?
Yeah,
Miskatonic.
Miskatonic.
It's Miskatonic University.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll like, for example, in the Dagon movie, he's got on a Miskatonic shirt. Nothing to do with Miskatonic.
Right. Yeah.
University
It's all in the same universe.
He created an interwoven universe through 100 short stories. And like in the book, he's describing how the professors over at Arkham, they're puzzled by this meteor. They can't figure it out. It's indestructible. They can't break it down with acids. Every time they try to hit it with a hammer, it's like soft. It's not hard.
It describes the actual color that comes off of it as like a color never seen before,
yes,
right? It's like
yes. That's in the very beginning.
People can't even perceive.
It exists outside our understanding of like the spectrum of color.
Yeah.
And like they can't. That's the thing. That's another thing about Lovecraft stories that I love so much is it goes into great detail to describe from the psychological perspective of a main character viewing something that is completely unfathomable.
Yeah, you know what's cool about that? I watched, I like, me and Casey every now and then we'll go on like a little binge on YouTube of like science videos and just that like cool unknown science facts and whatever. And like usually pretty anecdotal stuff or whatever. There was a thing about how magenta or pink in general is not a real color. And our brains just fill in the gaps of what we think it should be based on the colors that we can perceive next to it, and how like pink / magenta or whatever is not in light, in terms of light. Obviously with pigment you can
see it. Yeah.
You can see it. But like, in light, like it doesn't
like
actually
on a frequency band.
That's pretty wild that like just happened to be it's magenta.
Yeah, and spoiler, the color is magenta, the color from outer space. And like, dude, I didn't connect that until we started talking in the last few months about doing a Lovecraft episode. Because I don't sit around and just like talk about Lovecraft all the time. It's like, hey, I'm going to talk about this thing every day. You know, like it goes out of your mind and you don't think about it. And I realized, dude, I have all the smart lighting in my house because I like that new age swag. And like, New Age drip. I noticed that subconsciously for the year that I've lived in this apartment, I've always had my lights magenta.
It's one of my favorite colors.
I didn't, in my mind, that wasn't intentional. So like Lovecraft is affecting me in my daily life. Like I'm fascinated by the color of magenta.
It's for sure one of my, like pink and magenta are my favorite colors.
Yeah. I was always fascinated by the color of magenta. And anyway, I just remember being a little boy and people telling me pink is for girls. And in my head, I'm like, it's a color.
It's a cool color.
It's a color.
Like,
yeah, it's a color.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of where it goes is like, that's again, the genius of Lovecraft. He was way ahead of his time. You find out by the end of the book and also subsequently the end of the movie, like the entity that's possessing the meteor, it's not the meteor, it's the color.
The color itself.
The intelligence of this primordial entity exists within the color.
Yeah.
And the color begins to spread through the land and
drive people insane.
Yeah. And like it takes place down in the well, which I think there's some symbolism there, like looking down into the well. Yeah. Also like your subconscious mind.
Right.
And like this is in the movie. Sorry for spoiler. This is in the movie and in the book. But
I've read the story. I just haven't seen the movie.
Oh, okay. So one of the children looks down into the well and he sees what's down there and it drives him mad. Like he goes crazy. And it's cool in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to watch that.
Dude, we should watch it tonight.
Okay. We'll call Raven and make sure.
It's good, man. I promise. It's cheesy intentionally.
Yeah.
It's not scary.
It's
dark.
One of the coolest things about Lovecraft is, this doesn't happen super often, but 9 times out of 10, when something is inspired by Lovecraft, you immediately know. That's Lovecraft. Boom. It's Lovecraft.
You ever heard of Cthulhu? That's Lovecraft.
That's
his most famous story of all.
Right.
I was going to end up there. That's the Aleister Crowley connection. That's going to blow your mind.
But yeah, his influence is obvious. There are exceptions, obviously, like Michael Myers. Like I didn't even know that it was inspired by Lovecraft. You told me years ago, and I was like, Oh my God, that makes total sense.
Well, I found out
It's like
because
this
I was
unstoppable archetypal energy.
Yeah.
This
Force of nature.
Force of nature.
It's just
this
cosmic
force of-
forces of nature.
Yeah.
And like we haven't explicitly said this yet. It's kind of like coming back to me, but like the other reason I'm so obsessed with the works of Lovecraft, because ever since I started seeing beings and understanding that there are spiritual faculties that are not what I learned growing up in the church, even though I don't practice ritual magic, I don't practice like dark occult things. The extent to my occult practice would be like meditation, yoga, affirmations,
Yeah.
all the light shit, like
sacred frequencies,
solfeggios, like that's what
as
we
far
talk
as
about,
we go.
crystals.
We don't do rituals.
I don't do ritual magic and
Yeah.
shit like that. I'm not knocking anybody who does.
No.
But I'm fascinated by it.
It is fascinating.
Fascinated by it. I have a deep thirst to understand everything about the occult.
Bro, you thirsty.
I'm thirsty. I'm down bad for that occult shit, dude. I'm down bad.
I think it's really cool. I am trepidatious. Like I'm like,
Right.
I don't know if I want to do it myself yet.
No,
but-
I definitely don't. I don't.
Right.
I don't. And besides, like when you understand ritual magic at the highest levels of esotericism, you understand that the ritual is not necessary.
Not at all. It's programming your subconscious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not necessary.
It's just doing the steps
so that you believe it.
so that you believe it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
If you just practice
It's like that light as a
meditation-
feather thing that you do with your fingers when you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Where four people stand around and they chant this thing and then they can lift a person up with their fingers. It's like you're just going through the steps of the ritual so that so you believe it.
That's exactly correct.
And then when you believe
That
it, you
is-
actually manifest it, because the truth is like
it's
you
about
can-
your belief.
You can manifest stuff with your brain,
With
with
we
your mind.
talked about it in the last episode. Thoughts, which go, your will and your thoughts go into your heart center and begins to charge your willpower with your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And then through the emotional center charging your will, then you spring it forth into reality. It's a trinity of manifestation, and that's the triangle. The secret meaning of the triangle is the manifestation of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
First, we were a thought in the mind of the one or the infinite, and now we're more like, I would say like in that manifested, we're somehow in the final part of the trinity. But yeah, that's the secret of consciousness, is it manifests in a threefold manner, and it's thoughts, emotions, and then manifested or created or whatever. Or the father, the thoughts, the ego, the left brain, the left eye of Horus, the heart center, the emotions, the feminine, the eye of Ra, the right brain, the emotional intuitive side. You have the father, the mother, and then you have the child, the third thing, the product of the masculine and the feminine, or the thought and the emotion, which is the created child. I know this probably sounds like whack, but people out there initiated into the cult, they're going to be like, this dude is spitting some fucking heat.
The occult.
The occult.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't dabble with cults and shit.
Yeah.
No, the occult. If I ever say that word, I'm meaning OCCULT.
You just slipped there, and I was making sure.
I mean, I'm a Southern boy, so I
Yeah.
slur my words and have an accent and shit. But
we talk funny.
yeah, we talk funny.
We talk different.
God damn it, Cletus.
God damn it, Cletus. You better clear your chakras, boy. You better get off that porch and say your affirmations right now.
I'm telling you, Bo, his sacral's been acting up.
His sacral?
It ain't been pointing lately.
Did you do your manifestations this morning? Did you read your tarot to your mama? You better get in there
We're
and
like
do
sitting
it.
on a rocking chair with like a weed in our mouth.
Yeah, with a weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a weed. Yeah.
Oh.
No, not
I was like,
weed.
with a weed?
Not weed.
Yeah.
No, we're sitting on the rocking chair with a weed in our mouth. We're like,
Boy, you got to clear your pineal gland, Bo.
I lost my Jasper, damn it.
You got like Louisiana there.
Yeah.
You got
I was in Savannah, Georgia this week.
Savannah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they have a history of hoodoo down there, which will bring us back to Lovecraft. We're leaving this tangent.
You know,
now,
there's apparently like the entire Casey went there a couple years ago.
Yeah, she went for my wife's bachelorette.
That's what it was for.
Yeah.
Okay, and apparently like there's literally like the entire city of Savannah is a huge graveyard.
Yes.
There's dead bodies
Dude,
everywhere.
it is. I did a ghost tour around the graveyard.
Like underneath the places, the concrete, the roads, where you're standing, there's mass graves everywhere.
Guess how many people were initially buried there?
How many?
666. It's part of the tour. Yeah. You can look it up. There were 666. Savannah is extremely haunted.
Well, I mean,
Loved it.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's old. It's one of the oldest cities in America. Like big cities. Anyway.
Well, not just that it was old, but all the dead bodies
The
that
dead
were
bodies.
like, disrespectfully buried underneath
Right,
in
right.
mass graves. Yeah.
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 Anyway, so
of
back to the
tumultuous
Lovecraft thing.
spirits.
So the other reason that I'm so fascinated by Lovecraft, because it's not only about entities, it's not only about like these cosmic horrors that we haven't said this yet, but these cosmic horrors typically don't have a true form.
Yeah.
But like when they manifest in our reality and the character has like plunged deep down into the madness, which is like Da'ath in Kabbalah, you're going down into the abyss of your mind, the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
When you stare into the abyss, it stares back.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Cthulhu creatures are typically described as being these massive, supermassive, primordial cosmic sea creatures. Like Cthulhu, when he's viewed by human eyes, he's this unbelievably huge, like
squid-like,
like when he stands up out of the city of Riele, which is the ancient, the ancient
like Babylon kind of.
It is. It's the fuck. What's it called? It's the city. It's the city that the entities like are kings of. Like
the city of evil.
The city of evil. There's a name for it. I can't remember. The Cyclopean city. Cyclopean. Yeah.
Like Cyclops.
Yeah.
And it's described that like basically the way that these beings are viewed, it's like it's just your brain's best guess.
They're beneath the ocean.
Yeah.
But they're beyond the veil in other dimensions behind the cosmos. So like there's this duality to them. And like what I think you were about as above so below. And what I think you were about to say was like they do this great detail of describing when the character views them, their form causes our brain to be driven to madness because
they can't conceptualize.
They can't conceive of it. They can't understand the abomination that they're viewing with the five senses.
So
it's
their
very
brain
mystical.
just makes something up.
Yeah, and it just melts. It causes them to go insane.
Yeah,
and like so the fuck, where was I going with that? The color out of space, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they view the color, it actually begins to mutate the farm and the land around them, and like the bugs are mutating. The rabbits are all of a sudden jumping 10 feet higher, and it's making the horses freak out.
Crazy.
The dogs are going mad, and he had to shoot all the dogs.
Yeah.
In the movie, he has a llama farm. It's really funny. The mother is descending into madness, and a week later she's shouting obscene gibberish in an ancient language that no one understands, and she's crawling on all fours, and like they just it's a slow burn descent into madness and terror from viewing primordial entities beyond the veil. And like that the opposite of that was true for my childhood.
Right. The
so
opposite, yes.
I feel a very powerful subconscious pull to the works of Lovecraft. Like maybe what I'm doing is like the opposite of what he's doing, but what we're doing is very real, and we're talking about these real entities that when you see them, they are light. Yeah,
it's like whatever your brain can perceive them as.
Yeah,
it's like
light.
I know what a light looks like, so yeah, that makes sense.
But back what I was saying earlier, so there is extreme ritual occult written into Lovecraft stories, like voodoo, ceremonial magic. Like you have like these sidelines, different stories. Like for example, Dagon. You have
so cool,
very cool, dude. The Order of Dagon. Spoiler, is called it takes place in like Spanish speaking countries. I think it's in Spain. So it's the order. Shit, I don't know. Can you look it up, Alex? I've been out of Spanish for like 10 years. It's like the esoterica. Just look it up, please. And like it's a cult. It's a cult of people who are trying to ritually summon this entity so that it can reign supreme over our reality.
But the cool thing is like narratively, the way that the story reads is like you don't know if that is happening or if the main character of the story is just going insane, when like the truth is like both.
Well, I don't want to spoil Dagon for you unless you don't care.
No, I read Dagon.
You did?
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know if the movie is similar, but you find out he's the son of Dagon, the main character, the male. He's
the story doesn't go over that.
Okay, yeah. In the movie, he's the child of Dagon, and that was the whole point why he was drawn to the island. It's really cool.
Oh, that's wild.
Great movie, dude. And anyway, so like now we get into the Aleister Crowley stuff. So
yeah.
this is one of the reasons why people particularly think that H.P. Lovecraft was touching on something that was deeply esoteric. Like I don't believe, I'm not trying to claim that he was secretly an occultist. I know he was a devout atheist, but I believe, like, my theory is maybe he was so psychically developed that in his dreams he was reaching out and he was touching mystical knowledge that he didn't understand, he couldn't comprehend it, and it bled into his fiction. But like in the Call of Cthulhu, it's about an hour and a half audiobook if you want to check it out on YouTube. And all of his stories can pretty much be found on YouTube for free by audiobook.
And almost all of them
they're
are
short.
Very short.
Yeah, they're short stories. They're very short.
Like, this is a collection of short stories.
Yeah, this massive book you see here is every single Lovecraft work ever written. Yeah, it's all.
The complete
look at that!
fiction.
Look at the cosmic horror.
Like, I can't even fathom what I'm looking at.
Right.
It's,
And like the whole point of Cthulhu, the Call of Cthulhu, his most famous story of all, is like Cthulhu in the mythos of all the dozens of deities that exist in his Lovecraftian pantheon.
Yeah.
Cthulhu is like the king, or like the head of it's this weird word. He created his own little language, Rialea.
is Realia the name of, like, the mythos?
City. No, it's the name of the city under the sea
Gotcha.
that exists in another dimension. And like the whole point of Call of Cthulhu is you have this cult in the woods in Louisiana practicing necromancy and human sacrifice, and they're dancing in the forest with these like effigies made of Cthulhu, and it takes place in 3 timelines. There's a professor who's by person like studying this cult, and he's trying to understand the effigies and like unravel the mystery. I think it's maybe 2 perspectives actually. It's been about 2 years since I've read that book. And then you also have the perspective of a police officer after the events have already unfolded, and he's like reading the journals of the professor, and he's like investigating what happened to the professor. And you find out by the end of the book that professor, after having this, like, he had this wooden effigy of Cthulhu, he got involved with the cult in Louisiana, and then it ends with him witnessing the rise of Cthulhu out of the sea.
Yeah.
And it all was because of this cult of Cthulhu in the woods of New Orleans is doing all this like ritual sacrifice shit. And like, yeah, it's dark, it's demented, but like,
Pretty cool.
look at our movies now. Look at movies now. Horror movies.
And not just that. Let's talk about Archive 81.
Right.
Big spoiler alert.
Yes. We're going to spoil the whole thing. I've been waiting to talk about this show for this episode.
Yeah. And really awesome show. Like, definitely. It's on Netflix. Check it out.
Unfortunately, it was canceled, but totally worth watching season 1.
It's a really awesome show. It's a really, really, really awesome show. I wasn't crazy about the ending personally, but
yeah,
awesome,
it was a split.
awesome.
It was definitely a split. You're not the only one. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a thing.
Awesome show. But so spoilers for that. Be warned. You're warned.
Okay, so like again, back to From Beyond in Archive 81, which literally came out like a month or 2 ago. It's brand spanking new.
Yeah.
It was the first big Netflix hit of 2022. It went TikTok viral. That's actually how I find most of my shit nowadays, is on TikTok.
TikTok, it's an amazing resource. It's because it's curated exactly to what you like.
Yeah,
so they only show you stuff that you would want to see.
That's
awesome.
how I find all my horror films now. I'll see it on TikTok. I'm like, baby,
yeah.
we gotta watch this.
90% of the music that I listen to, I found it on TikTok.
Right. Yeah, it's great for that. And Archive 81, saw it on TikTok like 2 days after it came out. Everyone was freaking out. I was like, we gotta watch this. I was blown away. I thought it was great. I thought it broke most conventional horror tropes. Like it wasn't super predictable.
No, it wasn't.
But what was predictable was what you like kind of wanted to see. So that's always good when that happens.
Yes.
And like the cool thing about it is as the show goes on, it delves deeper into the madness of the girl. I can't remember her name. The one who's back in time in the 90s, and she's like going crazy because she's understanding and unraveling that the group that she's studying in this hotel is a cult.
Yeah.
And this cult is trying to summon a supernatural entity.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's cool. The show does a really good job of this. And it's a little cheesy, but it's not anywhere near enough to like ruin the value of the show at all. And like what's really cool is the only times you ever see this entity is in like the static on the TV.
In the static.
Yeah,
of the
it's
TV.
like in another reality. Like
but very, very similar. There are a lot of parallels.
Ritual magic
to Call of Cthulhu.
Sacrifice.
They have a little wooden effigy of the deity. Like the ritual.
They have a wooden effigy. They do ritual sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's a cult. And
the chanting, the
the chanting, which by the way, in real life, that's the Kundalini breath of fire. It's like a very good thing. The chanting they were doing,
they're like,
that's the breath of fire.
Yeah,
That's I actually used to do that in the shower every day. I need to get back on it. But
oh, dude, they were using tuning forks.
That's what I'm saying.
Sacred
From
frequencies
beyond. Literally, there is a Lovecraft story about a mad scientist summoning entities from beyond the veil with like attuning to the frequency of the spirit world, and like that's the entire plot of Archive 81. It's
also like it was shot beautifully.
Yeah,
like,
cinematography
is top notch.
Yeah,
a lot of the director or whoever made it, the creator of the show, also very inspired by The Shining. It does have a very Shining vibe.
Inspired by Cthulhu.
Yeah,
because that's Stephen King.
Yeah,
so it always comes back to
yeah, by the way, if you don't know, The Shining, especially the Shining book, heavily inspired by Lovecraft. Because, the book and the movie are very different of The Shining.
I've never read the book. I've never read a King book. I've watched a lot of his movies, though.
The Shining is, like, if you're going to read one, it's probably The Shining.
I think the number one example of a modern horror film or pop culture reference to Lovecraft besides The Thing, in my opinion, is It. Because think about it. It is this...
You mean like the biggest thing, or...
Like the most profound, the most influential, the most like, oh my God, this is Lovecraft. It's It.
The most obvious?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Like it's this entity who, if you know much about It, the Pennywise the Clown, it's actually this ancient cosmic entity.
Alien.
Yeah, it's alien, but it's cosmic. It's not from this dimension. It's from unseen realms that the human mind can't comprehend.
And it takes the form of the thing you fear the most.
And
so
in the time
you don't know what it
written,
actually looked like until
kids feared clowns.
Yeah.
So it took that form to prey on children. Actually, it took the form of the clown to disarm the children.
Right.
To get them to come to him. But it's not actually a clown. It's the way it's described in its true form and the realities that we can't see is like a primordial fuzzy ball of light.
Right, yeah. Which
like
is
you
funny.
can't,
it's funny.
You can't comprehend it. Its form doesn't exist in our realm.
In the movies, it's like a big alien spider.
It's like a spider type thing. But it does show the
ball of light in its mouth.
And it opens up and it's the deadlights.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. Like,
you know what? What's really crazy? We talk a lot about like charging things with power, like if enough people believe in something, egregore type thing.
Pennywise is
little, very much. Little off topic. John Wayne Gacy.
Okay, it's not that crazy off topic.
There's a new Netflix documentary series.
Is it good?
It's so good.
No, I love serial killer documentaries.
Well, here's the thing, bro. These are tapes, like 60 hours worth of conversations that have never been released to the public.
And it's really him?
And it's really him.
I will be watching that.
The whole thing is literally just him talking, and then like the people that were involved in the case and the people around him explaining what was happening in the tapes. Like, it's shocking. It is disturbing.
I will definitely be watching that.
And in that documentary, like from the mouth of John Wayne Gacy himself, he was obsessed with clowns to an unhealthy level.
Yeah, he killed kids dressed as one.
But also, it's like, here's the thing. Like, that's already horrifying enough.
Yeah.
You're murdering children dressed as a clown.
He tortured them.
Awful things.
He would, like, cut their private parts out, little 4-year-old boys.
Fill them with glass.
And let them bleed out. It's sick stuff.
Just the most disgusting stuff.
Yeah, he was an evil human being.
But here's, it somehow makes it creepier. I don't even know if that's possible, but it somehow makes it creepier that when they finally got the warrant and went into his home, there's just clowns everywhere. Like,
oh my God.
Paintings on the walls, and like not like normal looking clowns. Like, he intentionally chose the most terrifying looking clowns, like little clown dolls everywhere. He was obsessed with clowns because he knew kids were afraid of them.
Wow.
How messed up is that?
That's sick.
That is that's so sick and demented, but that's kind of what
I've got to watch that documentary, dude, because
it's
my mind is running
dude, it's disturbing. As soon as they started like showing, the thing came up on the screen, this is footage that has never 60 hours worth of audio footage has never been heard before. Me and Casey were like, What?
Did y'all see off topic, but did y'all see the Zac Efron Bundy movie?
We did.
It's good.
It was so good.
It's
and there's
really
also,
good. It's accurate.
Yeah, there's also a Bundy documentary on Netflix.
I have not seen it.
And we watched that too. I think it's called the Ted Bundy tapes.
I've heard of that. I've not seen it.
Yeah. We watched that. We watched those back to back. We watched the Ted Bundy tapes, and then we watched the Zac Efron movie. Dude,
super good.
it was good, dude.
I think people were disappointed with it because they were expecting it to be like a brutal like slasher film. It's not that at all.
No.
There's no violence in the movie, really.
The whole thing,
it's about the story.
Yeah. In fact, it's more about like what happened in court.
Right. And like his real wife.
Doesn't the whole thing take place after he is arrested?
No, it's
that's
about halfway through.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
The last half of the movie is the trial. But like it's really good.
That was the really interesting part.
Yeah. Because it was accurate. Like
very accurate.
He really did meet that chick in court and later marry her and have children with her.
Yeah.
That's real. And
so
one more serial killer thing, and then I'm going to get back to the Lovecraft. But did you see My Friend Dahmer?
No, I don't think so.
You would love that.
That's a movie, right?
Yes, but it is.
Who plays?
It's. I don't remember the main actor's name. You've definitely. I think it was a Disney actor.
Yeah, it's somebody I know. Alex, do you mind looking up the main actor for
My Friend
Dahmer?
You know who his friend is in the movie?
Who?
It's Alex Wolff. The one that's in Hereditary.
Gotcha.
I get the brother's names mixed up.
Who plays Dahmer in My Friend Dahmer? I think it's somebody that I know, or no.
He was a Disney actor. He's not super well known.
Okay,
but like that movie is so good because again, it's
is that
not
on Netflix.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's like a movie, like it was in theaters.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's based on a book.
Ah.
And the whole premise of the plot is like following Jeffrey, I was gonna say Jeffrey Epstein.
That's a different episode, dude.
Yeah, that's a different freak of nature.
Yeah.
Ross Lynch.
Yeah, he's not the Dahmer kid. He's not a well-known actor.
Okay.
He was a
I'm
Disney
not familiar.
TV
I
actor.
thought it was somebody I knew.
But he's great. He's great in the movie. And like it's about Dahmer when he was a kid in high school and him acting out for attention and he fell into alcoholism, which was all true. And the movie ends with him like going off to do his first kill. Like there's no killing in the movie, but like it shows him like, you know, everything you've ever known about Dahmer, like torturing animals, stalking men, and like just like he would do that. It's creepy.
They always like serial killers always have the most tragic childhoods.
Yeah. It's actually that's
And
my major is psychology, and
almost all of them, almost every single serial killer ever
abused
known to
by
man.
their mother.
Well, and
or
were
father.
also dropped on their heads. As
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, like Dahmer. I think it was Dahmer. Fell off a swing set. Like horrible blunt force trauma to the
I
head.
didn't know that.
But like definitely all of them had a really messed up childhood.
Yeah, abused.
All
Definitely
of them.
abused
all
by
of
their
them.
parents. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
and
up,
it's
Alex?
tragic.
I was just going to confirm that. I've been reading about Gacy for the last.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Terrible childhood.
Yeah, they all have. I'm
real
telling
bad
you, you learn
childhood.
about that in psychology. Like
And
there's
I think-
there's a theory that is what causes these people to be serial killers. Like,
yeah, it has to be.
yeah, I mean, like you're not
It's
just born
childhood
that
trauma.
way. I don't think people are just born that way.
No,
No.
I don't.
Not
think so.
excusing it, of course.
But there are stories in that John Wayne Gacy thing that were never told of like other assaults, other things that he did around the time, huge red flags that nobody knew because like nobody talked about it.
Right.
You know,
That's crazy, dude. You know, we had a teacher in middle school. I don't remember her name, but she was there when you were there too. My brother Jeremy had her, and this is why I know this. She was an 8th grade teacher, by the way. But anyway, so she used to live in Wisconsin, which is where I believe Dahmer was from.
okay.
And like Dahmer was known when he was an adult, he was pretty like well respected. Like people knew him as a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it was either her or her mother gave him a ride.
That's scary.
I mean, he
dude.
was only arrested in the 90s. Like that wasn't that long ago. And
Yeah.
she gave him a ride in town before he was arrested. That's weird.
That's real
You know,
spooky.
But if you know anything about Dahmer, she was safe because he was only after men.
Right.
But still,
she wasn't
like,
his
come
demographic.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is wild. But
Yeah.
anyway, so back to Lovecraft.
I mean, it's pretty on brand to talk
Yeah, it's
about
horror.
serial killers. Yeah.
In reality, this is a horror episode. I just wanted to have a whole episode where I gush about my love for horror films because I'm down bad. And like Lovecraft is the perfect theme to like bridge. Like this is why we're talking about horror. So moving on from like everything we've talked about previously, me like studying Lovecraft and like realizing that most modern horror is inspired by Lovecraft. Most, I would say.
Yeah.
And, knowing that, it brings me back to our previous theories that we've introduced on the show, which in the next episode, we won't say the subject yet, but in the next episode, we're going to go crazy into Hollywood theories in the occult. So, like, I wanted to bring in the horror episode first and introduce, like, the way I understand the genre of horror. It's hard for me to say that shit.
Yeah, I know.
In Southern slang, horror.
Horror.
Because my family always says horror.
Horror.
It's a horror film.
Horror
Anyway,
film.
so I
The
understand
horror. The horror.
the horror, the madness, the terror. I always understand that like the genre of horror has the potential for the most revelation of mystical concepts because it's truly like the driving force behind most horror, I would say, is supernatural mysticism, occult.
It's always about evil spirits, aliens,
spirit possession, aliens,
monsters.
and like the things that we talk about, but like the reality of them being very good and very light and very loving. Like you find the opposite of that manifested for the large majority in horror films, which now in today's society you're seeing it really bleed into like action films.
Yeah.
Like now we're getting like the Marvel films, which to me is literally all occult. I mean,
almost all
it's
of it,
all
yeah.
about the multiverse right now and
Multiverse,
Like, I
magic.
don't want to spoil Strange for people, even though it was a crock of shit. But it's all about chaos magic
Yeah.
and the multiverse.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like
Yeah.
it's on the nose. And I believe all of that was possible because of the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. And going forward from that, I believe that there is somewhat of a softball agenda. Maybe it's not softball at all. Maybe it's like very explicit. But like, I think there's an agenda in Hollywood to push certain themes in their films.
Right.
And like if there was a genre for the past 100 years that we've been watching films, I would say horror was probably the king or like the original genre where these occult concepts that have been secretly guarded since the times of Egypt
Started emerging.
start emerging into their art, into
Yeah.
their craft.
Either that or fantasy.
Fantasy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's
And what's funny is often in fantasy, when a lot of those things are brought through, they're brought in a horrific way. It's like some dark wizard doing necromantic magic and like using symbols and ritual magic,
like H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Right.
But what's the difference between the two? The difference between horror and fantasy is fantasy never claims to be in any way connected to our reality. It's fantasy. It's like there's elves and wizards and shit.
Right.
And like crystal stabs and like crystal reference, by the
Hey, we
way.
did
And
it.
stay crystal dripping every episode
Stay
now.
crystal dripping.
We represent.
Yeah,
but,
we represent horror.
Yeah. It's definitely a new age. Oh, dude! Shout out Isaac Weishaupt.
Hey,
I wore this shirt for that. Isaac Weishaupt. He literally has one of the best podcasts on the internet. I have been watching Isaac Weishaupt as a fan for the last 5 or 6 years, and now I'm pleased to say, because of whatever the hell we're doing with this project and like the magic that we're putting out into the multiverse, I literally have now become friends with Isaac, who is really confusing to me.
Yeah, you look confused
because
by
I've
that.
been listening to his show for 5 or 6 years. So if that's not a sign that you can manifest something you put your mind to, I don't know what the fuck manifestation is anymore. So anyway, shout out Isaac.
Shout out Isaac.
We're homies. We're omies, and we're gonna collab soon. So anyway,
Epic.
hopefully, unless he changes his mind after that cringy dialogue. So, dude, be easy on yourself, dude. Anyway.
Me?
Yeah.
What did I do?
Yeah, come on, man.
I was just deflecting.
Love you.
I was
Love
deflecting.
you, Isaac.
Yeah, no, Isaac's dope. Actually, a lot of what I learned. Okay, cat's out of the bag. A lot of what I've learned about pop culture, Illuminati, occult symbolism, I actually learned on this show.
Yeah? I'm
that's
excited
that's
to
a
meet.
fact. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories and unpopular culture. It is quite literally rated one of the best podcasts on the internet. It's like in the 0.1%, like
That's so cool.
big leagues.
I'm excited to talk to him. I hope we get the chance.
We're getting the chance. Dude, he's dope. And like listening to his show for the last, it was ever since I moved to Wilmington. So I don't know, 5 years. Ever since I've been listening to his show, he's also into horror. And like I get my
kindred spirits.
Yeah, we're into the same vibes.
Nice.
And like I get that itch scratched listening to his show.
Because you're like, you get it.
He gets it.
Yeah.
His whole show is decoding occult symbolism in films.
That's cool.
Conspiracy theories and unpopular culture.
That's cool.
But get it? It's pop culture.
Right.
So like a lot of the shit that I've learned about horror films and the occult and mysticism, I actually learned from his show. And I've never explicitly told you guys this, but the reason I wanted us, it was mainly your idea to do the
and
pop
me
culture.
and Alex, yeah.
No,
the pop culture stuff.
Gotcha. Part.
Gotcha.
Because initially when we were formulating the show, we're like, what's it going to be?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we'll relate everything to pop culture. It's dope as fuck. Everybody gets it.
And also, the main thing was like...
And we love it.
We love it.
We love it. I never explicitly told y'all this, but the reason I was so enthusiastically like, let's do that, is because I love Isaac's show.
Nice.
I've told him that privately. Like,
That's awesome.
he listens to our show. He was like, yo, like, this is awesome.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you, Isaac. And he likes that we do... like the pop culture thing, and I straight up told him, I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Like, I do this. This is possible because of listening to your program. So, anyway, I had to show Isaac some love. I know I cut myself off, but that's the whole reason I wore this shirt. So check him out. Conspiracy theories and unpopular culture. We quoted him in episode 2, by the way.
Did we?
The Star Wars episode. Well, I quoted him. Yeah.
It's so wild to me how you can recall episode numbers and what was said in the episodes and like
Right, by the number.
How?
Like,
how?
Titles
I mean,
maybe, but the number.
How?
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, do you want, like, my parents have always been blown away because this is a true story. I swear to God. Seriously, you could ask my parents this. When I was an infant, I've always been into movies, always, man. And I used to feel guilty about that. I used to, the boomers and the older generation love them to death. I'm just kidding when I say boomer. I actually was just recently told that a lot of older folks watch our show, so I need to be. Anyway, but
we say boomer with love.
It's a joke. Yeah, we're just nothing serious.
That's
but
not a derogatory.
I understand that they're always like, I've heard it my whole life. Like, they watch too many movies and play too many video games. But I'm coming to understand that people with artistic ability, like me and you and Alex, I mean, we're artists, we're musicians, we have different talents or whatever. We're inherently and subconsciously drawn to consume art. You know what I mean? And
it's all I ever do.
Yeah, and that's
the only thing I ever do.
It's why I like movies. It's why I like video games. It's why I like TV shows and anime and music.
If I'm not consuming art, I'm creating art.
That's
all I ever do.
Yeah, right. Or wanting to create art. And like,
that's all
I'm constantly trying to like consume beautiful art, but like the art of today is movies, like
and video games, yeah.
And video games, yeah.
That's
so
art.
it's just I'm just constantly trying to consume things that like inspire me and motivate me and like move me on a soul level. And I have no clue where I was going with that.
Well, dude, the best thing that you can do is create art and consume it at the same time. You get into cooking.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Is food art?
Oh yeah,
I'm really good at consuming it.
1,000%.
Definitely,
it's art.
man. I think
it's art.
Because
here's the thing, and here's how I can prove to you how it's art. I can tell you from first. I've been cooking since I was like 12. I'm very passionate about food.
Dude, you've always cooked for me. Always.
Yeah, I'm very passionate.
Since we were
about
kids,
food.
you were cooking in your kitchen when we were in high school.
Always. If you came over, I was cooking for you.
Yeah.
And I still do that to this day. If people come to my house, I'm feeding you. I'm cooking for you.
Dude, it's gotten to the point. This is not a joke.
You were at my house last weekend, and I fed you.
True. And the last time you were at my house, you fed me.
Yeah.
When we did the last batch of episodes. I remember what I was going to say.
Go.
Hold this thought about Alex is doing the, like, I'm pointing in all different directions. I like, one thing I've learned is I used to be so ashamed of, like, my ADHD self.
It's a superpower.
It is. And you know what? Like, I get a lot of direct messages from people. Shout out.
We ain't shouting out Kanye on this podcast.
We're shouting out Kendrick right now.
We shouting out Kendrick.
Yeah.
Shout out Kenny.
Only because it came out yesterday.
Kendrick's a Gemini too.
We're
okay, wait.
I've got to.
I like
I'm not to
Kanye's
cut
music.
you off right
Oh my God, we're like 3 different conversations deep.
No,
All right.
you said Gemini, so I've got to go now. And I'm gonna go with this not so fun fact, which you started. But I've been over here in a serial killer rabbit hole.
Okay.
So they took these people took about 500 serial killers. Cancer, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Scorpio account for about 40% of all serial killers.
Thank God I'm not on that list.
Gemini and Taurus combined only 11%.
So no Leos?
Nothing about Leos. Yes! This is the crazy one. Capricorn
That's my wife.
accounted for
And Jonah.
more victims total.
Oh my God. Makes
So-
sense.
So less like serial killers number, but
Yeah.
the Capricorn serial killers
They went to
killed more
work.
people.
They went to work.
They went to
They
work.
work smart, not hard.
Yeah.
What?
That's like my wife too, man.
That
She
is
worked very
wild.
smart and very hard.
Okay,
So-
what were you gonna say?
Sorry,
I was
go
gonna-
It's
ahead.
okay. That was interesting. That was really
That was
interesting.
super interesting.
Yes, that was good.
You've definitely earned another slice
Yeah,
of pizza.
Slice? You can't say slice when we're talking about serial killers.
Oh shit.
You can't. Come on now.
This is a true story though. You asked me how I can remember like the episode and the
Yes,
number and
I wanna
like,
know.
Like this seriously, ask my parents. When I was a baby, they would be playing movies. I'm talking before I could talk, before I could read. I'm a baby. And they said, no kidding you. When I would turn like 4 and 5 years old and I could talk, I would be quoting movies that they showed me when I was an infant. I've just always had the capacity.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
I have like virtually no memory. Like my memory's so bad. Like the only thing I have memory for is art. That's the only thing my memory works for.
Yeah.
My memory does not work for anything else.
See, I've always like, I don't know. I've always tried, or not tried, but I've always connected things that like most people didn't,
Mhm.
you know, and like, you know, I don't know. I feel a little weird talking about myself because of my traumas. And, you know, whenever we talked about ourselves in the past before this podcast, we were put down and
Yeah.
harassed and this and
Well,
that.
we're
and the other.
here for it.
Yeah, but like I honestly believe, you know, my dad has an IQ of 160. Like he's a literal gifted genius. I don't think I have an IQ of 160, but I do. I would like to believe that I've inherited like some things from my dad, or some abilities, or some capacities.
Yeah.
Because as the beings told my dad, like my family was, you know, born to do this, and by extension, you guys born to do this with us. And like I think that would explain why all of us and like our friends and who we associate with and the things we've accomplished in life and what we're doing, it's almost like, you know, maybe we were born to do it. And
Yeah.
you know, if you're born to do something great, well, you got to have abilities. So yeah, I have an incredible fucking memory.
Yeah.
And yeah, so bringing it back another tangent ago, kind of crazy that on episode 2 of our podcast, I quoted Isaac as a researcher, and now we're homies. Homies.
Wild.
It's just weird, man.
And to bring it back one more step to complete the ADHD train, because that's our goal for this podcast is to choo choo
All aboard.
Yeah. What I was gonna say about food, and then we'll get off the subject completely, is the way that I can tell you without a doubt that it is art, food. Well, Alex, you know, you asked the question, is it art? Is like, and I know you were probably just joking around, but huh?
I mean, dude, I grew up in a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, his dad
Oh,
owned a
right, of
restaurant.
course.
I'm like
So you know.
Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So, like any other form of art, the best result comes when you get into a flow state. Like,
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like,
I believe
you know,
that.
Casey for the past few years has been like, you know, she's told me like I've inspired her to want to learn how to cook, and so she's been learning, and she's getting so good, and we talk about it all the time. And just recently, she made something. She was like, "Yo, why does it slap so hard right now? Like, why did I go off on this dish?" And I was like, "What were you doing while you were doing it?" And she was like, "I was just like listening to music. I wasn't even paying attention." I was like, "Yeah, that's where the good stuff comes from." It's like when you're in the flow state,
I definitely believe that.
you're just like you because it's your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Your subconscious knows better than your conscious knows. So you know,
Right.
you know exactly what needs to go on, the proportions, the everything, and it comes together, and it's this beautiful product. Yeah.
That's actually how we were trained in my art of kung fu. Was you did thousands of repetitive technique and drills, so that when it came down to it, if you were ever tested in battle, like subconsciously, you just
Muscle memory.
it's muscle memory. You just recall it without having to think.
Yep.
You know, and mastering.
You're training your subconscious.
You're training your subconscious. That's the same with ritual magic. It's the same with repetition. It's all about everything in life that we've ever achieved is about training the subconscious. Actually, this is a fact too. About 95% of our waking habits and patterns of behavior in life are directly driven by our subconscious mind beneath our perception. Like we don't even understand that we're not really in control. It's actually our subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And like that's the importance of like meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And like healing from our traumas, because our subconscious mind is so psychically wounded from our past traumas. If we never heal from them, it's constantly driving us towards negative behaviors and negative thought processes and, negative patterns.
Yeah.
So, and that's really cool to tie it back to Lovecraft, because that's the point of the whole, the whole mythos is like these entities truthfully exist deep in the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And like when people view into these other realities, it drives them mad.
And what's a cool lens to look through is like Jung talks about like the collective unconscious.
He coined the term.
Yeah, and then like, the collective conscious, whatever. So like these Lovecraftian entities are like shadows of the collective unconscious or collective subconscious.
Exactly.
It's like in the stories themselves, they're described as these cosmic entities, but
they're also beneath the ocean.
Yeah, but and when you follow this like theosophical train of thinking, the cosmos, everything in existence really is a piece of the collective unconscious, the collective consciousness.
Right.
The we talk about the fact that like this realm is like a shadow realm. This realm is like it's like the fishbowl thing, like the cave, like Plato's cave thing. This realm is an
Plato's
illusion.
cave. Yeah.
Is an illusion.
It's like
so
Matrix.
it's like, rather than them being aliens coming from another dimension, another galaxy, if this is an illusory realm that is actually just a projection of a collective consciousness or unconsciousness, then those beings are just the dark, twisted thoughts of that fabrication, like manifesting physically.
Peering into our realm, but they can only enter when they're like summoned.
Right.
That's a good story to bring up. So the horror at Dunwich. Or the Horror of Dunwich. That is a movie that was, I believe it was made in 1971. I could be wrong on the date, but it was definitely a 70s film. And it's a popular Lovecraft classic. And it's about this priest, this like cult is trying to summon Yog-Sothoth, which is one of the entities in the lineage of Cthulhu. Because like Lovecraft was so genius, he created an actual lineage of Cthulhu. Cthulhu is not the highest being. I think the highest being is Azathoth.
By the way, real quick, there's I've told you this before on the show, but Magic the Gathering has these
A Cthulhu line?
Well, they have a whole universe that's all Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
And like the names are all almost like you just said Yog-Sothoth. There's one in Magic called Yawgmoth.
Nice.
Like, it's all exactly like the name of the set is Shadows over Innistrad.
Shadows over
Innsmouth,
which is another famous Lovecraft
and then
story.
the other part of that set is called Eldritch Moon.
Oh my god.
And it's about a giant Lovecraftian being that gets sealed inside of the moon. Like it's 100% Lovecraft.
Which is also Bloodborne.
Yeah. And
the
way
game.
and the way that they describe these beings in Magic is identical to what we're talking about. How like it's not actually there. It's like from a different dimension, but that's just how you perceive it because your brain it's exactly the same.
So the thing that blows my mind about H.P. Lovecraft the most is like he was a professed atheist, yet he had intimate knowledge of the occult.
Yeah.
And like he had, incredibly detailed like magic sigils. Oh, dude, I cannot believe I forgot to even mention this. It's just yet another profound horror pop culture reference to Lovecraft. One of the most famous horror films of all time, Evil Dead.
Now that is one I have seen many times.
Yeah, that's a scary movie.
Love.
It's a scary movie.
I don't find it scary. I find it very campy.
Then you're a twisted fuck.
I find it very campy.
It's a scary movie, dude.
I don't find it scary.
It is.
I love Evil
it's
Dead.
good. I love it. It's one of my
Evil
favorite
Dead.
horror films.
You gotta admit, it is so campy.
That's on purpose.
I know. But when I'm watching that, my brain subconsciously and consciously.
Which Evil Dead did you see?
I'm talking about OG.
Is it
OG
okay.
Evil Dead in the cabin? Like
there's two.
They're in the cabin in the woods.
There's two.
No. I know. I'm talking about the Evil Dead.
Okay, because the original Evil Dead is like dark, and then there is an immediate following sequel that was a remake and a parody of the first. So I'm curious, like which one
Are they both called the Evil Dead?
I want to say the second one might. Can you look up the chronology of the Evil Dead films? I'm just really curious to know.
Here's one thing about me, like I love like ancient horror, not ancient, literally ancient, but like
classic horror films.
I love like the earliest horror films, like
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead, bro.
Yeah, I watched that one.
George Romero.
Yeah,
bro, I love.
You should watch Reanimator then.
Yeah, I haven't seen
It's a Lovecraft book.
Yeah, I knew it was a Lovecraft thing. I just didn't. I've never seen it. Yeah.
So anyway, Evil Dead is literally one of the most famous horror films of all time. What's the plot of the movie? They read an ancient Sumerian incantation from the Necronomicon.
Yep.
It's a book made out of human skin.
Yeah.
It's used in ancient evil ritual occult ceremonies to summon demonic entities.
Mm-hmm.
What does that sound like? H.P. Lovecraft
100%.
created the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
And there is such a legend about the Necronomicon because it's in H.P. Lovecraft's mythos that people actually believe it's real.
Yeah.
And like people
it shows up everywhere.
It shows up everywhere. It shows up in films. It shows up in video games,
Cartoons.
cartoons.
Yeah.
And like that's just an example of the genius and the profound potential of like Lovecraft's work, like affecting our shared reality together. It's ubiquitous.
It's
People
totally
don't.
ubiquitous.
It goes over people's heads how ubiquitous the works of Lovecraft is bled into.
You
the
see it everywhere.
It's
you
everywhere.
You may not know it.
People
but
don't know it.
You
Yeah,
see it everywhere.
and it's just crazy. Like that's just yet another reference. You know, the Necronomicon, and it's wild. But it just blows my mind because he has this intimate knowledge of the occult, and that's why people believe he's an honorary initiate into the occult mysteries, despite the fact that he was a professed atheist and didn't believe any of that.
I think also though the definition of atheist has changed since the time that he was alive. I think.
I mean, maybe, but like did you find it, by the way?
No, you stumped me. There's like the Evil Dead 1 and 2, 1981 and 1987, and then there's Evil Dead 2013.
No,
Yeah.
that's not it.
Yeah, I think you're talking about like the 2013 Evil Dead.
No.
Oh,
I'm talking about the 1981 and the 1987.
Yeah.
The Evil Dead 2 is a remake and a parody of the first one.
Oh yeah, no,
And it's way
no.
goofier.
I'm talking.
You saw the classic.
Yeah,
Dude,
I watched. That's enough. So every year, me and Casey have a list of movies for Halloween that we watch through, and that's one of them.
I've seen Evil Dead 1, 2. I've seen The Army of Darkness. I've seen Evil Dead 2013. I played the Evil Dead video games growing up. The only thing
You haven't seen Ash vs. Evil Dead?
That's the only thing. Because it was canceled. And I don't like watching canceled things.
It's worth watching.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've only seen the OG
Okay, I got to tell you this.
and Ash vs. Evil Dead.
This isn't... Spoiler alert for Doctor Strange. As we know, Sam Raimi made Evil Dead. He also made Doctor Strange.
And he puts Bruce Campbell in every movie, so I'm sure he's in.
He's in
What
Doctor
is he?
Strange.
What is
He's
he?
just like selling pizza balls in another reality.
You know, he's in every Spider-Man.
He also
Tobey Maguire.
narrated our childhood Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know he's in every Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
All of them.
And he narrates those games based on those movies. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
they're just like buddies, and they put each other in everything.
yeah, they're friends. Actually, Sam Raimi was in an interview after Doctor Strange, which again, I personally, I don't want to offend anybody. Whatever. I thought it was terrible.
I have not seen it yet.
I hope you like it. I truly hope people like it. Like, I don't want to rain on people's parade, but I thought it was pretty terrible. But when Sam Raimi, and it sucks because Sam Raimi's one of my favorite directors, dude.
He makes some really cool shit.
Yeah,
but
he really does. I was just really disappointed by that. But it's funny because he approached Bruce Campbell when they were like getting started to film Doctor Strange. He's like, Bruce, got a movie for you. I think it was it might have been Bruce Campbell saying this, not Sam Raimi. He's like, "Oh, great, what is it?" And he literally approaches him like, "Bruce, got another movie to plug in." Like they're just it's just
he
funny
puts
to
him
me.
in everything.
Yeah, he really
he
does.
puts Bruce Campbell
he really
in everything.
does.
Yeah,
but
I love that. They're just best buds.
Yeah, man. I hope I competently did H.P. Lovecraft some justice. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, the Aleister Crowley thing.
Mm.
Here's the thing. So Aleister Crowley he was the real live like occult nasty person, whatever. I mean, we've talked about him many times. Everybody should know who Aleister Crowley is by now if they watch the show. And if you haven't Googled him, Google him, and you'll puke in your mouth. But
You'll puke in your mouth.
he was a sick, depraved individual.
Yeah.
And he would communicate with entities, sometimes through Ouija boards and shit like that, and other methods. And he communicated with an entity I think it was called Patutu, which is like Cthulhu.
Yeah.
You know, so people are speculating, like real occultists are speculating that, and they were alive in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know each other.
Right.
I would like to think. I mean, there was no internet back then. Like, how could these people all really be connected in the way that we are in today's society. Like, I just don't imagine, what's his name? Crowley in England and Lovecraft in like Boston and New York in the 1920s, just like knowing each other.
Well, I mean,
like,
he's right here. We can ask him. Aleister, did you?
dude, that's not out yet.
Oh.
It will be though. It's okay. It's okay.
Yo, Aleister,
in the yoga
episode, did you know H.P. Lovecraft?
No.
Okay, well there we
Not
go.
in my current
Aleister
form.
Crowley.
Not in my current
The wickedest
form.
man alive, Aleister Crowley. That's so
Jeez.
funny, dude. But yeah, anyway, so that's why people speculate that he may have been like truly touching on initiation into occult knowledge in his dreams, because the rituals he described in his texts were very close to dark occult ceremonial magic practiced by Aleister Crowley and things like the Ordo Templi Orientis and like Cthulhu, Patutu, like the similarity in the names of these entities that both were separately like describing one in fiction, one in real rituals and shit. It's just uncanny, the connections there. And, I guess my final point with this is like, no, I'm not telling people to go into dark occult. No, I'm not trying to say you got to be into dark stuff.
No.
What I am saying is I have a serious fascination with like connecting the dots between like Hollywood, pop culture, this, that, and the other. And I just feel like,
Well, interestingly enough, it's not so different than people being fascinated with serial killers.
right.
We talked about serial killers
Right.
on this episode.
Right.
People are fascinated by serial
It's
killers.
like one of the top podcasts
Yeah,
genres.
like all, yeah.
Crime and
It's
murders.
fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
To think that a person could be in that mind frame and think that way. Just as it's fascinating to think that a person can dream up some truly
Real
horrific,
shit. Yeah.
wild, real occult shit. And
It
that
just
like
blows my
the
mind.
world's never seen before,
No. He changed pop culture
Yeah.
from his dreams, dude. Like, that's just crazy, man. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
I feel like I could never do, the works of Lovecraft justice. So I feel like I've probably said all I could say. I hope people
We'll
like
probably come back to it at some point and
Yeah,
talk more Lovecraft because it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting stuff. The short stories are totally worth reading.
Super good. Super good.
Yeah.
You ready to hit him with the BG?
Yeah, but we have to sing it like the Bee Gees. But we have to sing it like the Bee Gees, like
There it is.
Oh, we're gonna get claimed. We can't sing it. We can't sing that.
No, it's over now.
Okay, cool.
It's over.
You ready?
No, he's
No,
already
I
ended it.
No, I haven't, but I think that's a funny.
Let's give him a BG.
Well, he's got to do it too. We
You're
have to do it
laughing.
together.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Bye, guys.
You do it with me.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week.
Peace.